Diamondlot, The Diamond Squad. By Eric Waugh. Chapter 17. Legion Approaching. Within the Shadowlands, there was an area known as Skull Plateau where the army of the Mad King had gathered. There were masses of little goblins that were kept in check by the much larger orcs. Even larger than the orcs were ogres that towered over them. Then there were the creatures that came along with the soldiers. Some of them rode on vicious hyenas or flew on giant dark beetles. But even more terrifying were the Spectre Riders, dark knights of the Mad King's army that rode on flying serpents. Hiding in the distance on an elevated platform were Charlotte and Sirit. They picked off a small squad of the Mad King's minions and got intel that something was happening here. They were here to spy on their enemy to see what their next move was. The Mad King's armies were squabbling amongst each other until one of the minions blew a giant horn that echoed through the whole plateau. Immediately, the entire area became silent, with the minions focusing at the center where the Mad King made his appearance. Suddenly, Charlotte had an ill feeling in her stomach while Sirit could sense an unsettling aura emanating not far away. They both watched as the Mad King began to rally his troops. After the Mad King announced to his armies that they were going to begin their invasion of Fifth Guard, there was a massive uproar of cheers. The chants echoed through the entire plateau, and they were raising their weapons in celebration. Charlotte was filled with fear as she thought they would have more time to prepare for the inevitable invasion. Charlotte was about to tell Sirit to send her messenger doves to Queen Victoria and Bella, but before she could, Sirit sensed someone nearby. Sirit pointed to a rock pillar where she felt the anomaly. Charlotte quietly smashed the pillar with her hands, and hiding behind it was Kavan, the announcer from the Gladiator Games. Charlotte was shocked to find Kavan there, and when asked why he was following them, Kavan replied that he had nothing else to do because the Gladiator Games were over, so he decided to follow her. Charlotte was unimpressed, while Sirit could only laugh at the situation. While they were busy talking, they didn't notice a goblin patrol had spotted them. It made a weird screech, alerting Charlotte, Sirit, and Kavan's attention. Realizing it should have kept quiet, the goblin turned around and ran to find reinforcements. Charlotte told Sirit to quickly send the messenger doves while she took care of the runaway. Kavan asked if they needed his help. Charlotte calmly told the announcer to stay quiet and not move a muscle. The little goblin was quick, but Charlotte was too experienced. She saw where her target was and threw a dart, right at the goblin's neck. She hit the mark perfectly, but before the goblin felt the effects of the tranquilizer, the goblin pulled out a stick and threw it in the air. The stick exploded, putting other minions on alert. However, that was not their biggest concern as Sirit alerted Charlotte that the minions had also captured Kavan. Kavan was getting carried away by an ogre on its shoulder. He shouted at the ogre to let him go as he punched the giant on the back of the shoulder. Charlotte was trying to chase after the ogre, but a team of 4 orcs blocked her way. They each had a weapon in hand, while Charlotte had her bare hands. The orcs thought they had an easy victim before them, but that proved to be their downfall. They attacked her in pairs, with the first pair getting ready to swing at her from both the left and the right side. Charlotte saw both their attacks and immediately did the splits, and both the clubs just missed her nose. The momentum of the clubs caused them to smack each other in the face. She then struck them both in the pressure point on their necks and took them out. The remaining 2 orcs charged at her from the front. Charlotte picked up one of the clubs and threw it at the feet of one of the charging enemies. By tripping one of the orcs, it fell and knocked out its comrade. She then took one of the swords from the fallen orcs and ran after Kavan. Charlotte saw the ogre about to walk over a cliff full of unstable rocks. With the sword she stole, she flung it at the perfect spot of the cliff, and the rock slide came rushing down toward the ogre. Hearing the sound, the ogre stopped to see the landslide coming down towards it. While it was confused, Sirit swooped in and pulled Kavan away from the ogre. Just as she rescued Kavan, the rocks piled over the ogre. Kavan insulted the ogre, and Sirit couldn't believe how he was acting, but their expressions changed once the Spectre Rider appeared before them. Kavan was struck with fear from the sheer terror of the creature, but Sirit jumped in, throwing a crystal in the air. It caused a massive flash of light, but the rider and the giant flying serpent didn't seem fazed. The serpent spat out a liquid that struck both Sirit and Kavan, which paralyzed their entire body. Charlotte, seeing that they were in trouble, rushed to their aid, but multiple chains wrapped around her arms and legs, and she too was subdued by the enemy. After capturing the spies, a small group of the minions were feeling proud of their accomplishment that they decided to interrupt the Mad King's speech. The Mad King let them know they better had a good reason. Confidently, one of the orcs presented the 3 captives to the Mad King: Sirit, Kavan, and the notorious Charlotte. The Mad King took a look at the prisoners and was not impressed. The orc was confused until he looked at the prisoners again, who had turned into giant rocks. The orc's expression was filled with terror, and he begged the Mad King for mercy. The Mad King responded by giving him another chance and walking away. The orc thanked his honor repetitively, thinking he had been spared. But without even looking, the Mad King casted his dark magic upon the orc that interrupted his speech. The rest of his army watched and then walked away as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, sneaking out of the Skull Plateau were Charlotte, Kavan, and Sirit. What happened was Sirit casted her illusion magic that fooled the enemy's vision temporarily. Charlotte thanked Sirit for saving their lives, and they made their way back to Fifth Guard.